The Elements of Style by William Strunk, Jr. Section 4. Elementary Principles of Composition. Rules 11 to 13. 11. Use the active voice. The active voice is usually more direct and vigorous than the passive. I shall always remember my first visit to Boston. This is much better than my first visit to Boston will always be remembered by me. The latter sentence is less direct, less bold, and less concise. If the writer tries to make it more concise by omitting by me, my first visit to Boston will always be remembered, it becomes indefinite. Is it the writer, or some person undisclosed, or the world at large, that will always remember this visit? This rule does not, of course, mean that the writer should actively discard the passive voice, which is frequently convenient and sometimes necessary. The dramatists of the Restoration are little esteemed today. Modern readers have little esteem for the dramatists of the Restoration. The first would be the right form in a paragraph on the dramatists of the Restoration, the second in a paragraph on the tastes of modern readers. The need of making a particular word the subject of the sentence will often, as in these examples, determine which voice is to be used. The habitual use of the active voice, however, makes for forcible writing. This is true not only in narrative, principally concerned with action, but in writing of any kind. Many a tame sentence of description or exposition can be made lively and emphatic by substituting a transitive in the active voice for some perfunctory expression as there is, or could be heard. There were a great number of dead leaves lying on the ground. Dead leaves covered the ground. The sound of the falls could still be heard. The sound of the falls still reached our ears. The reason that he left college was that his health became impaired. Failing health compelled him to leave college. It was not long before he was very sorry that he had said what he had. He soon repented his words. As a rule, avoid making one passive depend directly upon another. Gold was not allowed to be exported. It was forbidden to export gold. The export of gold was prohibited. He has been proved to have been seen entering the building. It has been proved that he was seen to enter the building. In both the examples above, before correction, the word properly related to the second passive is made the subject of the first. A common fault is to use as the subject of a passive construction a noun which expresses the entire action, leaving to the verb no function beyond that of completing the sentence. A survey of this region was made in 1900. The region was surveyed in 1900. Mobilization of the army was rapidly carried out. The army was rapidly mobilized. Confirmation of these reports cannot be obtained. These reports cannot be confirmed. Compare the sentence, "The export of gold was prohibited," in which the predicate "was prohibited" expresses something not implied in export. 12. Put statements in positive form. Make definite assertions. Avoid tame, colorless, hesitating, non-committal language. Use the word not as a means of denial or in antithesis, never as a means of evasion. He was not very often on time. He usually came late. He did not think that studying Latin was much use. He thought the study of Latin useless. The Taming of the Shrew is rather weak in spots. Shakespeare does not portray Catherine as a very admirable character. Nor does Bianca remain long in memory as an important character in Shakespeare's works. The women in The Taming of the Shrew are unattractive. Catherine is disagreeable, Bianca insignificant. The last example before correction is indefinite as well as negative. The corrected version, consequently, is simply a guess at the writer's intention. All three examples show the weakness inherent in the word not. Consciously or unconsciously, the reader is dissatisfied with being told only what is not. He wishes to be told what is. Hence, as a rule, it is better to express a negative in positive form. Not honest, dishonest. Not important, trifling. Did not remember, forgot. Did not pay any attention to, ignored. Did not have much confidence in, distrusted. The antithesis of negative and positive is strong. Not charity, but simple justice. Not that I loved Caesar less, but Rome the more. Negative words other than not are usually strong. The sun never sets upon the British flag. 13. Omit needless words. Vigorous writing is concise. A sentence should contain no unnecessary words. A paragraph, no unnecessary sentences, for the same reason that a drawing should have no unnecessary lines, and a machine no unnecessary parts. This requires not that the writer make all his sentences short, or that he avoid all detail and treat his subjects only in outline, but that every word tell. Many expressions in common use violate this principle. The question as to whether, the question whether. There is no doubt but that, no doubt, doubtless. Used for fuel purposes, used for fuel. He is a man who, he. In a hasty manner, hastily. This is a subject which, this subject. His story is a strange one, his story is strange. In especial, the expression the fact that should be revised out of every sentence in which it occurs. Owing to the fact that, since, because, in spite of the fact that, though, although. Call your attention to the fact that, remind you, notify you. I was unaware of the fact that, I was unaware that, did not know. The fact that he had not succeeded, his failure. The fact that I had arrived, my arrival. See also under case, character, nature, system in chapter 5. Who is, which was, and the like are often superfluous. His brother, who is a member of the same firm. His brother, a member of the same firm. Trafalgar, which was Nelson's last battle. Trafalgar, Nelson's last battle. As positive statement is more concise than negative, and the active voice more concise than the passive, Many of the examples given under Rules 11 and 12 illustrate this rule as well. A common violation of conciseness is the presentation of a single complex idea step by step in a series of sentences which might to advantage be combined into one. Macbeth was very ambitious. This led him to wish to become King of Scotland. The witches told him that this wish of his would come true. The King of Scotland at this time was Duncan. Encouraged by his wife, Macbeth murdered Duncan. He was thus enabled to succeed Duncan as king. 55 words. Encouraged by his wife, Macbeth achieved his ambition and realized the prediction of the witches by murdering Duncan and becoming King of Scotland in his place. 26 words. End of section 4.